Her name was Doris. In 2001, she was 83 years old, and the woman at the Estée Lauder counter asked what she used on her skin. Doris told her. The woman asked again. She was not unusual. Every woman on her street in Louisville, Kentucky had a version of the same shelf. None of them had a skincare routine. The products of their era did not require one. 13 things, all still available. None of them sold at the Estée Lauder counter. Her entire bathroom cabinet cost $3.40 to stock in 1955. Number 2 is the ingredient the industry quietly removed from your soap 60 years ago and has been selling back to you as a premium product ever since. Number 1 is not a product. It is the reason the whole cabinet worked. Let's count them down. Number 13. Doris had never owned a bottle of morning face wash. The routine she had inherited from her mother began the same way every morning for 50 years. Cold water and a clean cloth, not cold from the tap. Doris kept a ceramic bowl in the refrigerator overnight. The distinction matters. Tap water in Louisville ran at around 55 degrees in summer. Refrigerator water ran at 38 degrees. The difference between the two is the difference between cool and cold, and it is cold that contracts the surface, capillaries beneath the skin, reduces overnight puffiness, and closes pores before the day begins. 30 seconds. A cloth wrung out in the cold water held to the face, then another rinse, then the cloth again. The cleanser industry needed a morning step. If the answer was free water in a ceramic bowl, there was nothing to put in a bottle with a label. By 1975, a product category existed for a step that had not previously required one. Doris still kept her bowl in the refrigerator. Number 12. The bottle of witch hazel on Doris's bathroom shelf cost 35 cents at the Rexall drugstore on the corner. One bottle lasted 4 months. She bought 3 a year. Women in Doris's neighborhood had been reaching for it since before they could remember why. Because their mothers had, and their mothers before them, in a line that stretched back to the mid-1800s when it first appeared on American pharmacy shelves. It contracts tissue, closes the pore temporarily, and it sits at a pH level close enough to the skin's own to leave it alone rather than strip it. The trick Doris's mother taught her, which she passed to her daughter, was this: never apply with a cotton ball. A cotton ball absorbs 70% of the product before it touches the face. Cut a worn cotton pillowcase into 4-inch squares. Keep a stack folded beside the bottle. A flat cotton square transfers nearly all of it. Saturate the square, press it flat against the skin, hold for 10 seconds per section rather than wiping across. 3 seconds of wiping deposits less than 60 seconds of pressing. Thayer's still sells the rose water version that appears in the comments under every video about this channel. It costs under $10 today. The principle has not changed since the bottle on Doris's shelf. Number 11. The small bottle of castor oil in Doris's cabinet cost 60 cents at the pharmacy. She used it one way: lashes and brows every night before bed. Her mother had started the habit before the war. Not because she had read anything about it, but because a neighbor had, who had learned it from her own mother. Applied to the lash line regularly, it conditions the lash, reduces breakage, and supports the follicle. What it does is keep what is already there from falling out prematurely. The trick her neighbor had passed to her was a clean, dried mascara wand, not a fingertip. The fingertip applies pressure to the lower lash line and pulls the delicate tissue. A wand applies from root to tip along the natural arc of the lash without disturbing it. Dry lashes only. Castor oil on wet lashes slides straight off. And lashes only, not the surrounding skin, because the tissue near the tear duct is sensitive enough that castor oil causes significant irritation if it migrates there. Doris kept a note of the date she opened each bottle on the inside of the cabinet door. One bottle lasted 14 months. The lash serum category reached $600 million in annual sales by 2022. Number 10. The box of Argo cornstarch on the pantry shelf cost 15 cents and lasted most of the year. Doris used it for two things the beauty industry would eventually sell separately, one at $15, one at $30. First, dry shampoo. Applied at the roots the night before, not the morning of. That timing was the whole trick. Cornstarch applied in the morning sits on the surface of the hair shaft and shows white regardless of how thoroughly it is brushed. Cornstarch applied the night before has 8 hours to absorb the oil, while the hair is at rest. By morning, it brushes out clean and invisible. Doris's hair held a set through a second day without washing because of an application she did quietly while getting ready for bed. Second, setting powder. Mixed with arrowroot and dusted through cheesecloth, it absorbed excess oil and set powder makeup without adding a third product. The dry shampoo category is now worth over $5 billion annually. The box of cornstarch cost 15 cents and lasted 11 months. Number 9. On Sunday evenings, Doris steeped 4 chamomile tea bags in 1 cup of boiling water, let it cool, and refrigerated the bowl overnight. Monday mornings, the beginning of the week that had to be faced, she saturated 2 cotton squares in the cold chamomile, lay down for 10 minutes, and held them over her closed eyes. The concentration is the trick. 1 bag produces a drink. 4 bags in the same cup of water produce a solution dense enough in anti-inflammatory compounds to reduce capillary dilation beneath the thin skin around the eye. Most people who try this use 1 bag and notice nothing. That is not a failure of chamomile. It is a failure of concentration. The compress addressed puffiness, morning redness, and the particular tiredness the face carries after a night of interrupted sleep. Cold compresses alone help. Cold chamomile compresses at the right concentration help more. Number 8. Saturday nights in Doris's house, a bottle of beer went open on the counter and sat there until Sunday morning. She did not drink it. Flat beer, fully degassed and still, was used as a final rinse after washing the hair and left in without rinsing out. The B vitamins, the proteins from the yeast, and the residual grain conditioned the hair shaft. The malt sugars, as they dried, added a light hold and volume that the hairsprays of the era did not fully replicate. The distinction between flat and fresh is the only trick. Fresh beer contains active yeast that, in the warm, damp environment of a scalp and wet hair, can cause irritation and leaves a faint fermented smell as it dries. Flat beer has the compounds without the live culture. Left open overnight at room temperature, the carbonation is gone and the yeast is inactive. Number 7. The alum block sat on the edge of the bathroom sink in a small dish of its own. Doris had bought it at the barbershop supply counter on Jefferson Street for 35 cents in 1952. She was still using the same block in 1965. Potassium alum, compressed into a solid block, used in astringents and antiperspirants since ancient Egypt. Wet it, apply it to the face in long, slow strokes, then wait. Not a rinse-off product. The trick is not rinsing it. Most people who try an alum block rinse it after application because it feels like something that should come off. That removes everything it was supposed to do. The astringency, the pore contraction, the slight antimicrobial surface effect, all of it lives in the residue, 3 full minutes before applying anything else. Doris timed it by the coffee percolating on the stove. A block of potassium alum at 35 cents lasted 3 years. That was a catastrophic product for an industry built on monthly repurchase. The block did not disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because the industry needed to sell them something else. I ordered one while writing this. $4 from a barbershop supply website. It has not changed. Before number 6, if something from this list was already in the bathroom cabinet you grew up with, hit subscribe. You already know this channel is yours. The distinction Doris did not make was between the bathroom cabinet and the kitchen shelf, between what belongs on the body and what belongs inside it, between cosmetic and food. That distinction was invented by the industry that needed 2 different aisles, 2 different categories, 2 different budgets. Her mother had never been told it was a distinction worth making. What comes next lived in the pantry, in the refrigerator, in the cupboard between the flour and the vinegar. She did not think of it as unusual. She did not have a word for it. Number 6. Doris kept a jar of it behind everything else in the pantry cabinet, a pale gray-green powder with no label beyond what the druggist had written in pencil, Fuller's Earth. It had been a fixture of the American pharmacy until roughly the mid-1970s, sold by weight from the counter rather than packaged on a shelf. It is a sedimentary clay. The name comes from fulling wool, the process of cleansing raw, freshly woven cloth before it became a garment. The same drawing and absorbing properties that pulled lanolin and grit from raw wool pulled excess oil from the skin without the surface irritation of scrubbing. The trick Doris used: mix with rose water, not plain water. The slight acidity of rose water changes how the clay particles bond into a paste, finer, more adhesive, maintaining contact with the skin as it dries rather than cracking away at the edges. Plain water paste begins cracking at 8 minutes. Rose water paste holds for 12 minutes. 12 minutes is how long the clay needs to do its work without crossing into overdrying. Fuller's Earth disappeared as commercial clay masks made with kaolin, milder and less effective, became the category standard. It is still available from ceramic supply stores. No one markets it as a skincare product. There is no margin in a jar that costs 15 cents an application. Number 5. Doris kept half a lemon in a small dish in the refrigerator. 2 evenings a week, Wednesday and Saturday, she applied the cut face of it briefly to her elbows, her heels, any darkened patches on the backs of her hands. She had been doing this since she was 16. Citric acid is an alpha hydroxy acid, the same category of compounds that, in stabilized synthetic form, powers an AHA exfoliant market worth several $billion annually. A lemon delivered it naturally, at a concentration mild enough for regular use and effective enough for consistent maintenance of even skin tone. The rule that separated a woman who used this for 40 years from a woman who burned herself once and stopped. Never apply before going outdoors. Citric compounds on skin exposed to ultraviolet light cause phytophotodermatitis, chemical burns, and permanent darkening. The precise damage the lemon was meant to correct. Evenings only, always. Rinsed thoroughly before any morning sun, Wednesday evening, Saturday evening, never Thursday morning, never Sunday morning. Doris had learned the rule before she learned the word for what it prevented. A lemon cost 5 cents. The rule was free. Number 4. The small glass jar of pharmaceutical lanolin cost 40 cents at the pharmacy. Doris bought 1 jar every 6 months. Sometimes she stretched it to 7. Lanolin is the waxy grease secreted by the sebaceous glands of sheep, naturally present in wool, extracted and purified to pharmaceutical grade for medical use since the 19th century. It is the base compound in Aquaphor and in several high-end hand creams and lip treatments priced above $50 per ounce. The mechanism is the same in all of them. Lanolin is structurally similar enough to human sebum that the skin accepts it without the resistance it shows to many synthetic moisturizers. The trick is the quantity. A pinhead, not a pea-sized amount. A pinhead. Lanolin at pea-sized is visibly greasy and takes 20 minutes to absorb, which is why most people who try it conclude it does not work for them. They are using the wrong amount. A pinhead spread across both palms, then pressed, not rubbed, onto slightly damp skin, distributes evenly and absorbs in 2 minutes. The pressing matters. Rubbing activates the greasiness. Pressing deposits it and steps back. Doris's jar lasted 6 months. 1 pinhead pressed every night. She had learned it from her mother, who had learned it from hers. Number 3. The large bottle of Phillips milk of magnesia cost 50 cents at any drugstore in Louisville in 1955. It was sold as an antacid and a laxative. Doris used it on her face. Magnesium hydroxide in aqueous suspension, applied as a primer, absorbs excess sebum, temporarily minimizes the appearance of pores, and extends the wear of powder or anything applied over it. This function was not printed on the label. It moved through neighborhoods on the authority of women who had worked it out. The trick? A paper-thin layer applied with a barely damp sponge, not a finger. A finger applies too much and leaves a chalky cast that shows in dry weather and flakes by midday. A barely damp sponge deposits a layer thin enough to be nearly invisible, which dries to a matte finish in 3 full minutes. 3 minutes, not 30 seconds. The moisture has to evaporate completely before powder is applied, or the powder does not set. In a Kentucky summer, Doris's face stayed matte. Her daughter's daughter found the original Phillips bottle on an internet forum 2 decades later and called it a discovery. It was not a discovery. It was what Doris had known since she was 22. Before number 2, the one the industry does not want to explain clearly. When soap is made from scratch, fat, waters, lye, heat, the chemical reaction produces 2 things: soap and glycerin. For centuries, both stayed in the bar. Glycerin is a humectant. It draws moisture from the air and holds it at the surface of the skin. Handmade soap left the skin soft because the glycerin was still in it. By the early 20th century, industrial soap manufacturers discovered that the glycerin produced during their large-scale soap making was worth considerably more removed and sold separately to cosmetics companies, pharmaceutical manufacturers, and the food industry. They extracted it. What remained in the bar was harder, longer lasting, more efficient at its job, which was removing everything from the surface of the skin, including the natural oils and moisture barrier the skin needs to function. The skin began to dry after washing. Tightness after washing is not a sensation of cleanliness. It is the sensation of a compromised barrier. To address this, the same companies that had removed the glycerin began selling toners, moisturizers, and serums to restore what their soap had taken. Nothing was invented. One ingredient was moved. The woman who bought both paid twice. Number 2. Pear's soap has been manufactured since 1807, a translucent amber bar, a specific warm scent that anyone who grew up in a house that used it recognizes immediately. Pear's has a long history. In 1955, it cost 20 cents at any pharmacy in Louisville. It is still available today at $1 to $2 per bar. It retains the glycerin from the saponification process rather than extracting it for separate sale. The bar cleanses without stripping the skin's moisture barrier because the humectant is still present. That is why the skin does not feel tight after washing with it. The trick for extending the bar is a soap dish that drains completely. Because Pear's retains glycerin, it softens and dissolves faster than synthetic detergent bars when left sitting in standing water. A built-in soap holder in the tile wall pools water. A slanted porcelain dish with drainage lets the bar dry between uses. Doris kept hers on a slanted dish above the sink, not in the wall holder. A bar lasted 3 weeks. In the wall holder, it dissolved in 5 days. Most soap sold in the United States today is technically a synthetic detergent bar. The glycerin was removed long ago. What the label calls soap is not what Doris's mother called soap. The difference is still 20 cents if you know where to find it. Every item from 13 to 2 was something she reached for, a product, a practice, something she had been shown and had passed on. Number 1 is not that. It is the premise that made every item on this list work, and the reason no product can sell it to you. Number 1, Doris did not have a skincare routine. She had a cabinet with 13 things in it, all of them bought without reading an ingredient list, all used the way her mother had shown her. What every item shared was the same premise. The skin is not a problem to solve. It is a system that already knows what to do. What Doris used either helped that system or kept out of its way while it worked. The industry that replaced her cabinet started from the other premise. Every product it sells depends on you believing the first premise is wrong. Doris's 13 items cost $3.40 in 1955. Most of them are under $5 today. Try the one that surprised you most. 1 week. Then come back and tell me what happened. I want to know whether it worked. If your grandmother had it on her shelf already, you already have your answer. I will see you in the next one.